Good day, ladies and gentlemen. It's Eric Coffin. I'm here at the 2020 Toronto Metal Investors Forum, just ahead of the PDAC. I'm here with Darwin Green. He's the CEO of Highgold Mining. Highgold has two project sets maybe. One is a very high-grade, very impressive Johnson Tract project in Alaska. The other one I want to touch on today a little bit, though, since we're sitting in Toronto. Highgold also has a set of projects in the Timmins camp. There's 3 or 4 projects, and interestingly enough, Highgold just started drilling on these projects. The market is so focused on the Alaska stuff that, to my mind, the market's pretty much totally ignoring the Timmins drilling. I don't think there's any company valuation whatsoever for the Timmins project. So to me, it feels like a sort of no downside, all upside sort of drill program. Can you sort of give us the thumbnail overview of what this drill program is going to look like in Timmins?
Yeah, no, for sure. You're absolutely right. I mean, Johnson has been sort of the flagship or lead story in terms of valuations, but Ontario is a very important part of the company, and don't want people to forget the significance of those assets. But as far as our exploration plan, we've got a 5,000 meter drill program that we just announced this past week, involving 2 drills.
Are there 2 drills in the same place, or are they 2
No, they're going to split up. So
okay.
If you recall our land position, we have 2 very large land positions, both north and south of Timmins proper. The northern one's called Golden Mile, the southern one's Golden Perimeter. And then we also have a land position that's quite a bit to the east, a little bit east of Matheson. That's the Munro Croesus project. So one drill, about 50% of the drilling is going to stay on Croesus, and the other drill is going to be split between Golden Mile and Golden Perimeter.
Okay. And so what are you testing for?
Yeah, it's a little different things on different projects, and even on those projects, we're testing different ideas. I mean, there's a wealth of targets there. These assets, as you might remember, were in Constantine's portfolio for a number of years. So we developed a lot of targets. One of them, Golden Mile, for example, we had Teck as a JV partner on that for a while. They gave it back. They did some great tee-up work, but it's been waiting for that follow-up ever since. So we're going to do some holes testing that. Starting with Golden Mile, what we're looking at there is it's a major structure called the Pipestone. It's at a big flexure. You always like bends and big crustal scale structures. There's a couple of gold deposits sort of east and west of the project. It's a lesser explored part of the belt. More of the work's been on the Destor Porcupine to the south. Right. But it is a permissive structural feature. It's overburden covered. That's been part of its, I guess, the challenge and the opportunity. It hasn't been kicked around as much as, or worked over as many other projects. So there we think we've got one of these splays at this flexure. Got a good geophysical target we'll be drilling. Moving to Golden Perimeter to the south. That's one that was a newer acquisition. It was a real interesting sort of alkalic intrusive signature to the project as a whole. It's part of what led to the staking there. Placer Dome had actually drilled it sort of in the early to mid 80s. Drilled about 30,000 feet. Never been able to find the assays to that, but they describe a lot of anomalous gold and altered intrusives. So there, the target, it doesn't really fit our branding of high-grade gold. It's more of a bulk tonnage type target there.
I mean, 10,000 meters is, even for Placer, I mean, you think if they drilled 10,000 meters, they weren't striking out.
They were hitting something, exactly. Yeah. And they, not to overthink it or oversimplify it, but a little bit of what was anomalous in the mid-'80s is now probably average open pit mine grade. So it's that kind of thinking. It looks like a setting that there's certainly gold around, very underexplored. And as an overarching theme to both of those projects, Timmins is a very mature district. It's had a lot of exploration. We feel that it's thinking outside the box a little bit, just bringing new ideas, lesser explored parts of those belts can lead to the big transformational new discoveries, like Great Bear in the Red Lake camp. That wasn't really the hot trend in Red Lake. They were certainly marginal. So it's that same kind of thinking to these belts. Higher risk for sure, but interesting place to be working.
And Munro Croesus, I imagine a lot of the viewers aren't going to be familiar with the project name. If you're Toronto area or Southern Ontario, you may actually be more familiar than you might think with the rocks, because I know there's a bunch of them in the Royal Ontario Museum, because there's some just crazy high grade out of this property.
Yeah, some really, really beautiful samples. It was actually a a mine, at the turn of the century, 1914, 1915 through intermittently up to the mid 30s. And just pulled out some unbelievably spectacular high-grade samples. In fact, the majority of the production came from that type of mineralization, and it was mined out. It was fairly small scale, but extremely, extremely high grade and mined out to structure. And really, it's been in private hands ever since, until Constantine acquired it in 2007, I believe.
Well, and I think
2008.
I know it was never Palmer, which is a base metal VNS project in Alaska, was always Constantine's focus. I think he did one or maybe it was two drill phases, but I mean, you pulled a couple of decent holes there. It was just it was never the focus.
No, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I mean, it just the markets were never that great, and there was the Constantine was onto a new discovery, grew it, and everything was fantastic. But this didn't get the attention it deserved. We always wanted to. So real excited now to have a vehicle and the opportunity and some cash to go out and execute on some of these ideas. And it's one where there's been a really good geological model been built up there. The high grade itself was mined in a very specific setting. It's where this vein crossed a particular geologic unit. It was a brecciated flow that had a lot of carbon and sulfur. Where that vein crossed that unit, it caused the precipitation of the gold. A lot like RNC's Beta Hunt in Australia. The big primary difference there was where the vein crossed a sedimentary horizon. It was very, very narrow, maybe a meter wide or something. I haven't actually been there, but something on that order. Full of carbon and sulfides. And that vein then, so you're looking at a linear intersection of those two things to start with, and then it got sheared up and dismembered. So much harder target. Right. This, while it will be kind of poddy and I'm sure within the vein, you got a much more wider pay zone. This zone is probably 20 meters wide. And one of the opportunities that we're looking at is this unit's mappable along trend, along strike, and the past drilling actually identified other veins at depth. The veins themselves can be at different orientations, and so we're looking at almost like a stratigraphic approach to just trying to track out this unit and drill it to find more of that mineralization. And there's some other ideas that we've developed there. It's a really, really interesting setting that's seen really no systematic exploration work. You hear about people talking about that in, silver camps in Mexico or elsewhere. It's quite unusual in a place like Timmins, the greater Timmins camp that has the history that it has with head frames, east and west of where we are, that's lacked that level of exploration, particularly when you got this kind of grade and you got other veins on surface, and there's several of them that are mineralized.
So it was just like private family ownership or something like that? It was just off the market?
Yeah, it kind of was. Yeah, it was sort of a family-owned entity, I guess. It was called Munro Croesus Mines, and there was a handful of shareholders that had that, and Constantine's management CEO, Garfield McVeigh, who had a connection, and was able to bring it into Constantine, and so now we're picking up where Constantine left off.
And then I guess immediately following Timmins, you'll be back up to Alaska to Johnson Tract, which is an extremely impressive high-grade project. One thing that I think is worth touching on before we sum up here is, in difficult markets, it's not always easy to raise money. I think Highgold has a very rare combination right now, certainly of cash and share structure. I mean, you've got a very tight share structure, but you also have a lot of cash.
Yeah, we do. We do. I mean, we've got great shareholders and a great, treasury right now. And, as an explorationist, it's one of the toughest parts of the business. You can have great ideas, but to have the capital go and execute. And so we're well funded to do what we want to do. We, part of the money, there was $2.3 million of flow through. Lion's share of that we'll use right now in this 5,000 meter drill program, but certainly have a sizable budget to hit Johnson really hard this summer and hopefully move the needle significantly on that. And as you know, if we can demonstrate the kind of grades that were hit there before, that we hit this summer, get them on that offset and on this north trend or elsewhere, you should be. I don't care what the market's doing. In the bigger picture, you should see a positive response out there.
Yeah, and you've got, 40 million shares out?
40 million shares, that's right. Yeah, 56 fully diluted. We also have another 6 million of in-the-money warrants. And those are in good hands.
And you've got about, 12 million right now, give or take?
12, 13. In
12,
that
13?
Yeah.
So 12 or 13 million, 40 million shares out. It's a little bit on sale, like everything, after the last week. Great project. And I guess I guess you're gonna put a resource out.
Yeah. So we're working on that right now. It's within the next 2 months here. We hope to have that out. It's independent third party working on it. So,
right.
But yeah, that'll be nice to go. In terms of we'll get some news out here. We just started drilling in Ontario, so in the coming weeks and months we'll have results from that. We'll get the resource out from Johnson, and then we'll be up there drilling hard with 2 drills at a minimum in Alaska.
Okay, there you go. Highgold Mining, HIGH, on the venture. High grade, there's a resource already in Alaska. They're getting a third party one done, but everyone knows there's already a resource there. High grade and new targets in Timmins. Market's basically not giving any value for that. 40 million shares out, 12 million on the bank. It's great risk reward profile. You got to take a hard look at HIGH, Highgold, on the venture.